and try to do a hopefully quick tutorial on how to do this beautiful little snowman, snow woman huggy cup, I guess. It's a very, very cute little cup. I made this for my very own personal use. It's my absolute favorite. What I have here is, my cup is sanded down and taped off. I am not going to be spray painting this one white, simply because we have 6, 7, 8 inches snow outside, and but it is sanded down, cleaned with alcohol, taped off. This is a 20-ounce skinny that I got from a local shop here, and I have white acrylic paint, Atlantis, and Key West. These are all Apple Barrel brand, but you can use any brand that you want to. I have a variety of paint brushes, and a sponge, and I think that's it as far as those supplies. Let me move these. Then I have the other half of my gift bag. Now this half has glitter, which I'm not very fond of, but I'm making this for my aunt for a little special gift because she loves snowmen too, and she's currently in the hospital with COVID, unfortunately, but she's doing very well. But what I do is I'm going to be cutting out just the snowman portion of the bag. So I am not getting very close. I'm just cutting them out. This does not have to be perfect because we're going to be painting around all of this anyway. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just, if I can get my scissors to work. I've lost my little scissors that I love to use for this. In the mess of Christmas and wrapping gifts, I have no idea where I put them. So I have to deal with these big bulky scissors for today. Okay, now the only portion that I want to keep is just around the snowmen themselves. So I'll cut all of this out. I wish this side didn't have the glitter, but it does. And there's nothing I can do to take it off other than if I wanted to paint over top of it, which I may end up doing. Okay. I need to get rid of this little fold. I know I'm going to be cutting off the little toboggan tassel, whatever that's called, but that's okay because I'll paint that back in. All right, let me get rid of this mess. And now I need Mod Podge. I don't have very much in this bottle, so I'm going to grab a paper plate. And I'm going to let that drain into my plate for a moment. And my brush, this is just an old brush. I only use it for Mod Podge. That's all the purpose for this one is. But it's kind of getting a little bit rough looking where I use it so much. Now another cute thing you could do if you had a really big cup, these stripes that are on the side of the bag, you could do the back half of your bag. Say if you had a 30-ounce cup or bigger, straight cup that is, you could do one side with the little stripes on the back and put the snowman on the front. That would be really cute. You could even do them horizontal. That would be cute too. But always looking for ideas for using gift bags. I love doing gift bags on the cups. Not sure if my Mod Podge is going to work out. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I have my Mod Podge in my plate, and I'm just loading my brush completely down. And then I'm going to take and coat the cup. Oh, got Mod Podge on my image, but that's okay. And then I'm going to lay my snowman down. Now I want the little toboggan tassels to definitely be underneath where I have it taped off. The bottom portion, I want the button to also be at the very bottom edge, but not going over. So that's how I do these ones. And I just press it down. Oh, I got it up too far. A little bit more. And I just press it down. Keep pressing, keep pressing. Now, I do know that this goes over the edge a little bit. So that's okay because I want my button to be on the bottom portion of the cup. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this. And I'm going to put some more Mod Podge underneath that. Oops, not enough. Just to make sure that it sticks down well. Okay, then I'm going to continue to rub this down until I get all of the air bubbles out. These edges might be a little bit tough. I may have to go get more Mod Podge here in a minute. And then I just put Mod Podge over top. And I just continue to rub this down. Now in a moment, this paper is going to continue to soften as it starts to dry, and these edges will stick down better for you if your bag curls up like this. I don't think my other one curled up as much. But once this actually starts drying completely, I'll have to stop, reapply Mod Podge, and do it again, because if you continue to mess with it while it's in the stage of drying, if it starts to get too dry, you'll damage part of your print, and I don't want to do that. So I just continue to press, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this a little bit. A little bit more. Well, good golly. Oh, might be too much, but that's good. It's good. I gotta paint that area anyway. So just continue to press down until you get all of these edges flat. Eventually they will stick. Make sure you get all of your air bubbles out that you can get. Now if yours is starting to get too dry, mine's almost at that point, but not yet, reapply some Mod Podge if you need to on top of your image and continue to press these edges down. Okay. These cups are so skinny that I can't hardly get my big hand in them. While this is, before it completely dries, I'm going to go ahead and trim the bottom of this. It doesn't have to be perfect because I have a trimming tool that I'll use before the epoxy. But then which will even all that out. But I'll just rub this down. You want to make sure none of these edges are sticking up. You can wear gloves when you do this. I personally don't, because this just washes off with water and soap. Usually I use Dawn, but I want to make sure all of these edges are flat. Okay, I think that's got it pretty good. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come in with some acrylic paint. Very cute. A little bit of Mod Podge right there. I think I have a line of Mod Podge underneath there that I'm going to try to even out some. Okay, let this dry, and we'll continue to the next step. Okay, the Mod Podge is almost dry. Still look a little bit milky, but it's dry enough to work with. The Mod Podge I use is just the regular gloss luster. You could use any kind that you want to. Any of it will work just as good as the other. But my next step is I have my white paint here, and I also have the Atlantis paint in this plate, and my little sponge, and I'm just going to dab in this silver area, getting close to the image, but not going over the image. Well, trying not to. Kind of hard to do with such a big sponge. Now the reason I'm putting the white down first is so when you go to paint in the teal colors, it just shows up much brighter. Okay, so after I get close to the image, I'm going to come in with my paintbrush and get as close as I can. I'm not worried about it leaving lines or anything. And the only part that I'm worried about getting close to is the edge that I, oops. Well, I just dipped in my teal paint. Just the edge that I cut. I'm not worried about covering all that teal. If I do cover some of it, that's fine. And again, this part doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to lay some of this color down here. Oop, edge of my paper is sticking up a little bit there. I don't think that'll matter, but do the front side here. I'm just doing all of it with this little brush. And then I'll let this dry. This is one of my easiest cups I've done. And also one of my cutest. Okay, I think I have it all. Now I'm going to let this dry and then we'll come in with the teal. Well, I lied. I forgot the bottom. I'm just sponging my white on here. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for now. Make sure I get in that little groove there. And I'll let this dry. Okay, so that's all pretty well dry. Now while I'm going to put a little bit of my teal paint, the Atlantis color, on this brush. And I'm going to just roughly draw out his little scarf here of where it's going to be. And I'm going to paint around this area and not go into the area where the scarf is. I want to leave that white. And paint around your snowman. And the same thing over here, because I want this portion of his scarf that's going to be painted red. So we want to leave that little corner. I know it's just a little bit, but we still need to leave that little corner white. And I'm just using a little rough round brush for this. You can use any kind of brush you want. And I'm using this color to go around just the edges. In a moment we're going to switch. Try not to get on your image unless it's where that blue color already is, or teal color. Okay, so there's that side. Let me do up here. And you see where that line is? That doesn't matter. Absolutely perfectly fine. If you go over some of your the little snowball tassel at the top, I don't know what those are called. My children haven't worn this in for years. A little bit too thick. But if you go over top of that a little bit, don't worry about it, because we are actually going to be painting over that mostly anyway. I'm just going to go on and fill this area in. It's small anyway, so it doesn't matter. Oh, well, golly. I might have to go back in and glue that down. It's kind of sticking up again. Now for the bottom, I'm leaving the bottom white. I'm going to switch to my, I think this is a, let's see, 3/8 inch plaid brush. I think this is, maybe a stencil brush, I don't know. But anyhow, I'm just coming in and dabbing that color in all the area that I haven't painted. Now you don't want to dab in one area too long, because if your white paint, this, if it starts to get softened up by this top layer of paint, it'll start lifting and you'll have silver spots like this. So just dab and move on. And if you need to, let it dry and come back in and dab and move on again. Almost done. Remember not to do where you left the little white areas. If you do by accident, you can go back over and paint it white once this dries. See, like I went over there. I'll have to go back over that with white in a little bit. But for now, I'm just leaving it alone. Okay, now I want that same texture up here. So I'm just going to try to get close to my image without going onto the snowman hat and things. Okay, now we have to let this dry. Do not worry about these big lines that you see, because the time we're done, you won't see any of that. If you see on, don't know if I can touch my cup. My hands are a mess right now. But if you see on my cup that I did, you can't see any of those lines, and I promise you they were all there. Oop, just dropped something in my white paint, but I don't think I need it anymore right now anyway. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. Okay, now that that's all completely dried, I have my Key West. I poured it into my plate, and my brush has been cleaned, and I'm just going to dip my brush in this and pat it onto the paper plate a little bit, and I'm just going to start randomly dabbing. I'm not going to cover up all of this darker color. Now in a moment I may grab some of my darker color again and dab in areas, and I'll just do that until I get the look that I'm going for. If I go on any of my image, I'm going to try to wipe that away. If you have to, get a Q-tip with a little bit of water on it and wipe it away. I'm not worried about the tassels at the top of their hats at all at this point, because I'm going to be painting over that. but I'm going to try not to get it on the actual image itself. And if I do, I wipe it away. You want to get close to the image so it kind of makes it all blend. Okay, now I'm not even going to rinse this brush. I'm just going to dab it and then go onto that dark color and dab it as well. And I'll come back in and apply this where, just to break some of this light color up. Just very random. Okay, I think that's pretty good. My edge is still sticking up a little bit. I did exactly what I told you guys not to do. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to grab some red paint and some brown paint. And let me see if there's any other colors that I need. I actually need to go back into my light color and just kind of come over my image, but I'm going to wipe it off of my image. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to grab some brown paint and some red paint and maybe a little bit of black, and then we'll do their little scarves. I promise it's not hard at all. Got a dampened Q-tip, and I'm going to wipe this away a little bit and make sure I don't have it anywhere on my image. I don't think I do. That was already there. I have no idea what that even is. Oh, I did have it a little bit here. Not much. Probably wouldn't even been enough to hurt it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, let me go grab my red and black and brown paint. Okay, I went and grabbed my bright red, melted chocolate, and just black acrylic paint. Again, apple barrel. You can use any brand, doesn't matter. And I have a liner brush. I'm going into my red paint, and I'm just going to paint this in. Now I'm leaving that red on my brush, and I'm dabbing into a little bit of black, and you just want to make a dark burgundy color. You basically want it just a different tone than the red you just put on there. And I'm just going to make a couple little streaks. Now, to bring this color into the image, I'm going to bring it on over some into the parts that I didn't even paint. I'm going to lighten that up with some more red. Okay, and a little dot of white into that same color. Add some red. And I'm just going to swoosh that out. Okay, my camera cut off a little bit, but all I basically did was took and extended these a little bit to make them a little bit more flary. I'm going to go into my brown paint now. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to that to make it just a light brown. And I'm just going to fill this area in. I need a bigger brush. This is a little bit bigger area than what the red one was. And I'm just going to fill this in. Now don't stress about this, guys. This is basic. It's very, very easy. Okay, now back to my liner brush. And adding more white to that. And I'm just going to come in here where this lighter color is and just lighten up this area. The same down here. And we'll lighten up the top area. And then I'm just going to bring this, well, bring this out. Like so. Now I'm going back into my darker brown, darkening up this color, and I'm going to bring some of these out. Back to my light color, dark color, and just keep mixing. You just want a different variation of color. Now where that line was, where I'd cut around the image, is a little bit tough to get over. So I just take my time and make sure that I get over that a little bit. Now, that's exactly what I mean. See where that line is? And the color doesn't go completely in there, so I'll just bring this color up into that line and then bring it out. Simple as that. Now, while we're working on this one, dip the end of your brush in your light Key West color and just come on top of this and put in a few of these dots. Because we still want to make it look like it's not going to be exact. If your paint's too thick, you might want to wait and let that dry. This part of my paint was a little bit too thick, but it's okay. We still want this to look like part of that image. Okay. So that's pretty good. We need to let this dry. While we're waiting on that to dry, I'm going to go into just a dot of my black and some of my white, and I'm going to make a really light gray. I mean, this is very, very light. And I'm going up here to where these little, oh, I see an area where I did not fix. Hopefully that'll come off. Yes, it did. Okay. This is very, very light gray. If it's too light, I'll go back and redo it. But I'm going over where this little tassel is. Need a little bit darker. I got it too light. And I'm just extending this out. Now if you see where it goes over that line, that's a little bit tough to get. Where that line is, I may have to go back and forth a few times. Okay, now I'm just going to rub that color off on my plate, go into just straight white, and I'm going to come in here and just give it a little bit of the straight white. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Go into my darker gray. Wow, I hope you guys were seeing that. I'm so sorry if not. Now where that line is, I'm just brushing back and forth to get under the line. Ooh, almost went into my brown. Okay, now I'm just going to rub that color off onto my plate. My plate is about full. And then I'm going to dip into my white. I have it pretty thick because I didn't rinse out my brush. And I'm just going to come in and add some of this white. You're just basically going in a circle. Okay, that's pretty good. So I did the exact same thing on this one. If you guys didn't see that, I wasn't sure if you were seeing it. Okay, I'm going to go rinse my brush and get a new plate. I'm done with all these colors for now. And I'm just going to get a little bit of white acrylic paint in my plate. Okay, I have my white acrylic paint in my plate. I have a little bit of water here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a little bit of my water. Oh, I had brown in my brush, sorry. Just a moment. Thought I rinsed that out. Sorry about that. Let me wipe that up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip a little bit of this white into my plate. Very, very little. That's probably too much. But I'm just going to scoop that over into here. And I'm going to make a real milky color. This is way too much paint and water, but it'll be fine. You just want a very, very milky consistency. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but when you load your brush and splash, then you can tell if you have the right amount. And what you do is just bring it over to your cup and just splash. You want to splash everywhere. Splash on your snowman. Have old clothes on when you do this. You want big drops, little drops. You want them on the little tassels. If you get ugly spots like that, just take a dampened brush and wipe those away if you need to. Now, if your liner brush isn't working out for you, find one that does. Got too much here. You can use a fan brush, you can use a toothbrush. It really doesn't matter. You splash as much as you want. I love lots of snow, so okay, I think that's pretty good. Now what I'll do is let this dry, and then I will coat my whole cup with Mod Podge again, maybe 2 times. And what that will do, that will seal your image pretty good before you epoxy. But I will also take this outside real quick and spray it with Krylon triple thick clear spray, clear glaze, I mean. And I'll give it one good coat of this. I'm going to take the end of my brush and I'm dipping it in just acrylic paint. This is just no water added. And I'm going to come in random places and add some big dots. Some of those big dots I'm going to put over top of this line, which will camouflage that a little bit. Don't like that dot there. The reason I say that's because I have 3 huge dots here for some reason. So I'm going to try to remove one of those. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. I do see that I need to add a little splashes on the greenery, so I'm going back into that milk consistency paint. And I'm going to splash a little bit up here. Okay. Don't like that big splotch. I'm just going to come in and put a couple of dots there so I don't have to re-splash that again. Okay, I think that's good. All right, I'm going to let this completely dry, and then Once it's dry, I'm going to go over this 2 times with Mod Podge and then once with the Krylon. And then I will put this on the turner and put epoxy on it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape. It looks a little bit rough right now. If it's too rough, oh, well, anyhow, if it's too rough, I'll come in with my teal color and I will paint in these little gaps. I'll do a variety of the light teal and the dark teal. Wow, that tape is really stuck. On this side, I don't know what happened. Oh, there we go. And I thought I would have to take my trimming tool around the bottom, but I don't have to. This, I trimmed it pretty well, just with the scissors. So around here, to keep that from looking so rough, I'll just come in and I'll take my Key West and my Atlantis color, and I'll just come in. I normally do this part whenever that's dry. I'll just come in and even that line up a little bit wherever I see that it needs it. I kind of have to wait till this dries so I can touch the cup. But just like here, that's pretty rough. So well, I'll come in with just a little bit of this darker color and I'll straighten that up some. Now if I goofed up like that, I'll just wipe it away. Same here. And you'll never even know it. Now, before I Mod Podge this, I'll press this down really well around this edge. And fix any edges before you go any further. And when I Mod Podge, I won't come all the way up to the top of the rim. I'll come right above where it's painted and brush down. Okay, all of my snowdrops are completely dry, and I'm going to show you how I do just a little bit of this part. I load my brush with lots of Mod Podge and I just start brushing down. I do go up over my edge here a little bit, but not all the way. Now the reason I do this is because before you epoxy this, your image needs to be sealed really, really well. That's why I do 2 coats of the Mod Podge and a coat of the Krylon triple thick. If I get too close to the edge, I will just wipe that away a little bit. And the reason I do that is because I want my epoxy to stick to this silver part of my cup. Now I will continue to do that all the way around this cup, including on the bottom. I want to leave a little bit of that silver with nothing on it at all. Down here on the bottom, I will brush it across, but I'll also come up over where this paper was. And I'll do that all the way around the cup. Especially around these edges, I will brush it this way. And you can see where that line was. And I'll let this dry completely, and then I'll do this one more time with Mod Podge. Then I'll tape it off at the top. And spray it with the Krylon Triple Thick. Now, I'm about out of Mod Podge, and I have a new bottle. I just don't want to open it yet. Here, I'll brush against where that line is to make sure I get plenty of Mod Podge over the lines. Now, this will take a little while to dry. I do not dry it by any kind of heat. I just let it naturally dry. If you want to rush it a little bit, you can put it in front of a fan, but I don't like to put it in heat because that leaves places still white that really take a long time to dry. And so I just let it naturally dry. But that's all I do for this part. And I'll do that one more time. Tape it off. Krylon Triple Thick, one good coat, not runny, and then you'll be ready to epoxy it. Okay, my cup has been all sealed and is currently on the turner. It's looking pretty good. I see a few flaws, but I'll fix those on the next step after this epoxy cures. I put a little bit of disco ball glitter from glitterazzi321.com in the epoxy. The epoxy I use is Envirotex Light, 1:1 ratio, and I think it looks really good. I have a few flaws right there. You see those lines. There's one on the other one right there, but I'll fix those on the next coat of epoxy. Anywhere that I see any kind of lines, I'll take acrylic paint and paint over top of those visible lines, and they'll just vanish. So I'll do part 2 hopefully tomorrow, maybe the following day. I'm not sure yet. It just depends on how busy my life gets. But as of now, you'll get a general idea, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one.